You might find it a bit siguro overwhelming to start, no? Kasi puro numbers, tapos may mga computations din, no? Kaya, but hindi naman tayo, ano, kaya, no? Meron bibigyan ng illustrative example, and na-distribute na ba sa kanila yung, yung Excel file? May yung, ano, yung pinrovide ko kanina na Excel file na na-distribute ba sa kanila yung Excel file?
Wala ko sa document. Send ko sa email.
Ayan, yan lang. So, meron din ako ipaprovide na Excel file. Pwede nyo siyang gamitin to start. No? So, ano naman ito, no? For those interested to do this kind of research. Because actually itong field of research na to, yung greenhouse gas accounting, it has helped me a lot, no? To start my career then as a professor. So at the start, so syempre, climate change is very big now. Di ba, even sa international academic space, maraming nag-research nito. So, and also to do this kind of research, you don't need money, you don't need funds. Kailangan mo lang ng laptop, Excel file. Siyempre, yung mga database natin naman, free naman yan. Yung mga data sa Philippines, may sa Department of Energy, Philippine Statistics Authority, sa international, may International Energy Agency. No? So, you can do this research for free, and the good thing is, very impactful siya. So I will show you later some examples of publications ko, some numbers there. So it helped me grow my my citation numbers a lot. So because madaming interested sa ganito klase ng research. No? So for some background, so I think we're all familiar with climate change, global warming. So it is because of yung tinatawag na anthropogenic emissions, so meaning yung mga man-made emissions because of industrialization. No? So if you know, di ba yung after the World War, nagkaroon ng heavy industrialization. So dumami yung CO2 emissions sa atmosphere natin. And then yung mga climate change scientists, kinorelate nila yun, no, sa pag-increase ng temperature din ng atmosphere. No? So, it's true na meron normal up and down cycle, no, yung temperature in the atmosphere. So, meron din data to, no, from way back, ano ba siguro, 1800 siguro, no, meron na sila mga data nun. So, nag-up and down naman talaga. However, after ng industrial revolution, ng industrialization, umaas somewhere yung ano, yung temperature na sa atmosphere, tapos hindi na siya bumaba, hindi na siya bumalik. Yun yung naging problem. So basically, yung natural carrying capacity ng Earth, di ba, to heat up, to warm up, to cool down, hindi na siya kaya makasabay, no? Because of the so much greenhouse gas emissions na nandun sa atmosphere. Tapos, yung greenhouse gases na yan, like the carbon dioxide, um, yung ginagawa niya is tinatap niya basically yung heat, no, from the sun. Di ba? So, mapasok yung heat ng sun sa earth. Tapos, pag tumama sa surface, sa ground, supposedly mag-reflect siya palabas. Mag-reflect siya palabas ng earth. Pero yung greenhouse gases na to, nagsiserve sila as parang barrier, no? So, natatap yung heat inside the earth. Tapos anong effect nito? So since naging increase in temperature ng oceans, ng atmosphere, yung mga glaciers, yung mga ice glaciers natin sa North and South Pole, nagmamelt sila. So increasing sea levels. So like kung hindi natin kakontrol yung global warming 15 to 20 years from now, we're expecting a lot of mga coastal areas, mga coastal cities. So like Metro Manila, di ba? So yung mga sa area na malapit sa Manila, we're expecting that to be underwater na in maybe 15 years. So hindi mo control yung increasing sea levels. Kasi I think now, per year, yung coastline natin, tumataas siya by like maybe 1 centimeter or something. So like after a few years, magiging sobrang taas na nun na yung mga coastal areas natin, lulubog sila. So, and many more concerns. No? So, because dun sa glaciers natin sa North and South Pole, madaming mga um, thousands of year-old na mga bacteria doon, no? Na frozen na. Ngayon, since nag-melt yung ice, nakakawala sila. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga kung ano-ano bagong sakit din na and viruses, makalat sila. So, because of that, mayroong mga global initiatives, di ba, to control yung greenhouse gas emissions. So, meron tayong Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, no? They're asking if all countries, the economies to have targets to reduce yung carbon emissions. So like yung Philippines ngayon, we're in the process of renewing yung commitment natin sa IPCC. So way back 2021 to 2022, nag-commit tayo ng 75% reduction ng greenhouse gas emissions natin by 2030. No? However, only 2.7% dun yung unconditional. No? So in the rest is 72%. Subject to support ng developed countries yun. No? So ngayon, we're in the process of renewing yung commitment natin. Pwede nating increase yung commitment, pwede nating bawasan. No? So we're doing economic studies on that, no? Kung anong kaya natin i-commit. But yung new commitment natin, hindi na for 2030, for 2035 na siya. So ano ba yung mga some of the tools na ginagamit ng iba't ibang bansa to try to understand bakit tumataas yung emissions. No? So because as you know, sabi nila, you cannot control what you cannot measure. Diba? You cannot control what you cannot measure. So maybe like for example, kaya pinag-initan mo yung transport sector. Sabi ko, ang taas ng emissions natin kasi ang daming sasakyan dapat gawin natin puro jeep yung mga sasakyan, public transport dapat. So meron kang mga pinupush na mga solutions na scientifically meron namang reason, di ba? So because gusto mo public transport yung gagamitin para mas konti yung sasakyan. Pero wala ka namang numbers, di ba? Hindi mo alam gano'ng kadaming public transport vehicles na kailangan mong i-deploy. And yun ba talaga yung culprit, di ba? I remember meron din dati mo sa online, sa Facebook, ganyan, no? Yung sa EDSA, di ba? Yung sa sobrang traffic sa EDSA no? Kung nakapunta na kayo sa Metro Manila, yung EDSA sobrang traffic talaga. Tapos hindi nila alam ano ba yung may kasalanan, sinisisi nila yung bus, sinisisi nila yung jeep, sinisisi nila yung mga sasakyan. But nobody really has numbers na ano ba yung nagpapas ng traffic. Tapos meron na-share sa Facebook na parang drone picture siya sa EDSA, pinakita ang haba-haba ng traffic. Doon sa pinakadulo ng traffic sa harapan, meron lang bus na nagbababa ng pasahero. Tapos yung pagbaba niya ng pasahero niya, nakapagalan yung bus. So naharangan niya yung parang 2 lanes. So siya yung nagpapas ng traffic kung umaga. Sa EDSA. So things like that. No? So kung wala kasi information talaga, hindi mo nakikita what is causing the problem, mahirap siyang isolve. So yung tool na pag-uusapan natin ngayon, and I'll also give you an illustrative example later. Very simple siya. I would say very simple tool siya kapag natutunan mo na kung paano gawin. And basically, it helps you measure ano yung reason bakit mataas yung greenhouse gas emissions, yung carbon emissions ng isang lugar. So it can be a country, pwede country level yung study mo, pwede city level, pwede university level, depending on what data is available. Depending on what available data is on hand. No? So with this, yung mga, let me share some examples for background. No? So ito yung natin, yung global level, ito yung energy consumption natin, broken down by different sources, coal, oil, gas, natural gas as well, gas, nuclear, hydro, other renewables. So as you can see, from 2000 to 2018, yung trend niya is still increasing. Diba? Considering na meron pa tayong IPCC, di ba? Commitments to reduce emissions. Wala naman nangyari. Yung IPCC nag-start pa yan 1997. I think. So, yun naman, yun yung trend. That's the reality. So, increasing pa rin yung trend ng energy consumption ng buong mundo. However, when you look at yung emissions, the good news is, decreasing trend naman pala sa emissions. So, nag-increase pa rin continuously yung pag-consume natin ng energy. But when you look at the other side, yung sa emissions, decreasing trend siya yung decreasing emissions. So, ano yung possible reason nun? No? Ibig sabihin, we're becoming more efficient. Diba? Gumagamit din tayo ng cleaner sources. Kasi ibig sabihin, hindi naman masama, di ba, na gumamit ng energy. As long as we're using the right type, diba? Yung right type ng energy, mga clean energy sources. And if you look at yung drivers, no? Yung drivers for this change, so bakit kahit tumataas ang energy consumption, bumababa yung carbon emissions natin, we can look at yung tinatawag natin na effects. No? Yun yung pag-aaral natin yung mga effects. So, yung mga pinaka-basic na effects na measure natin, one is yung population, second is yung economic activity. So yung economic activity, usually, measure yan ng parang income per person. Income per person siya. So yung ginagamit natin na data dyan is GDP, yung Gross Domestic Product. Kapag country level yung analysis natin, GDP. Kung pinakasimple, kung household level, gusto mo malaman yung economic activity nyo sa bahay, total income divided by number of persons. So yun yung ibig sabihin lang ng second effect natin. And yung third one, ang tawag dito is energy intensity. So TPES refers to total primary energy supply divided by GDP or divided by yung income. So meaning, gano'n ka ba ka-efficient? No? How much energy yung kailangan mong spend to make this much money? Di ba? So yun yung tinatawag natin na energy intensity. Like for example, compare natin yung bike. Di ba? Ay, wag na lang yung bike kasi it's kunyari, motorcycle versus bus. No? Let's say, isang tao lang yung nakasakay. Gusto ko lang yung example na malaki yung energy consumption. Bus tsaka motorcycle, isang tao lang yung pasahero pa rin. Nag-drive sila galing dito papunta sa kabilang kanto. Sino yung mas madaming energy na i-consume? Bus. Diba? So, parang ganun. You can imagine other larger applications. Diba? So basically, energy intensity, measure siya ng efficiency. So, how much effort, how much energy do you need to use to earn or to make the same amount of money, para economic. Kaya money natin because economic activity. So if we're talking about countries, so yung pinag-usapan natin, yung productivity, basically, like ano yung mga services, goods, so, na ginagamit natin. Because yung countries natin, generally, bakit ba tayo nag-spend ng energy? Diba yung Pilipinas, bakit kailangan mo generate ng electricity? To be productive, di ba? Para mapatakbo yung school, para ma-operate yung hospital, di ba? Para makapag-operate siya ng industrial plant, manufacturing plant. So yun naman yung end goal natin. We're trying to grow yung economic activity. So the question is, are you efficient or not efficient? So ito yung energy intensity. And then ito naman, yung last one, yung is emission intensity siya. No? So CO2, carbon dioxide, divided by total primary energy supply. So meaning, gano'ng ka-linis are using clean energy sources. No? So because kapag mababa yung carbon intensity mo, meaning possible na madami kang energy consumption, pero mababa yung carbon emissions mo. No? Or on the other hand, if we're reliant so much on coal, diba, diesel, sa pag-produce ng electricity natin, magiging mataas yung carbon intensity natin. Kasi carbon dioxide divide by total primary energy supply. So yun yung mga indicators or effects that we are measuring. And you can see here na yung mga effects, some which are positive, and there are effects which are negative. So in 2000 to 2010, all effects were positive, negative sila sa taas ng axis, except for yung natin, energy intensity. So meaning, from 2000 to 2010, madami na ring efforts na to improve yung energy intensity. So probably, but we're talking about the whole world pa na tayo nakapost. So possible na during that time, nauuso na yung mga energy efficiency, nagka-transition tayo to LED, lighting, and other things. So yun yung nangyayari in 2010. However, mataas pa rin yung carbon emissions natin because of what reasons? Yung economic activity natin, yung GDP per person, nag-grow siya. From 2000 to 2010, nag-grow yung economy. So meaning, nagkaroon ng mas madaming trabaho, nagkaroon ng mas madaming companies, nagkaroon ng mas madaming economic activity, no? Naging mas nag-grow, no? Nag-develop yung economy, GDP na buong mundo, no? And also, hindi natin naiwasan, nagkaroon din ng population growth. So, ito yung sa taas. So, yan yung, syempre, kapag mas madaming tao, mas mataas yung energy consumption and emissions as well. So, itong mga factors to, and yung yellow pala, carbon intensity, positive din siya. So, meaning, from 2000 to 2010, naging mas madumi pala yung natin o yung energy supply natin. So meaning baka noong 1990 hanggang 1999, baka 30% share lang ng coal. Noong 2000 to 2010 siguro, probably nagkaroon ng economic boom, di ba, sa buong mundo. Nag-grow, no? Naging 50% na yung share ng coal. So sa Philippines, around 50 to 55%, di ba, ng power supply natin galing sa coal. So if we're thinking about, okay, nag-increase yung emissions from year 2000 to 2010, ano yung driving factors? It is driving factors. No? So increasing carbon intensity, increasing economic activity, and increasing population. And now when we recommend measures or policies now, you have to focus on those areas. No? So generic pa to, there are some studies which are more specific. So pwedeng, um, pwedeng sector specific yung titignan mo. Like focus ka sa manufacturing, no? Focus ka sa transport, para mas maintindihan mo talaga ano yung kailangan ng control. No? So, ano yung nakita natin dito? Population growth, economic growth, carbon intensity. And yung pinaka-culprit talaga is economic activity. So, with that, policymakers have to make decisions paano nila ikakontrol yun. No? So, ito na natin, energy intensity is negative. So, meaning nag-improve na siya. So, ibig sabihin, hindi pala efficiency yung problema natin from that time. So, okay naman. Yung buong mundo na pinag-usapan. Okay yung energy efficiency. We have to put more focus on economic activity. So, mabigat na usapan yun. Because ibig sabihin ba nun, we should tell other countries to slow down the economies na. So that's gonna be a challenge. Yan yung reason bakit yung United States, China, ayaw nilang mag-sign no, dun sa mga IPCC. Hindi sila willing eh. Hindi sila willing mag-slow down ng production ng economy. Pero meron namang solutions yun no, na mas specific. Like meron tinatawag ng mga decoupling ng economic activity sa emissions. So meron mga ganun din na studies. No? How can you maintain strong economic growth without increasing your emissions? And population growth. So, sasabihin ba natin sa mga Pilipino, huwag na kayo mag-anak, diba? So, mahirap din yan, no? So, that's the challenge. But we see that that's one of the main drivers. Okay, kailangan mag-isip ng mga policy solutions. Paano natin ma-ihiwalay o masiseparate mo yung paano natin masisigurado na, kasi expected yung population growth, na paano natin masisigurado na i-control or i-manage yung greenhouse gas emissions natin while maintaining the population growth na yun. So that's one example for global. And then meron din tayong data for OECD countries. So yung OECD, I forgot yung nito, yung acronym niya. But ito yung mga developed countries sa European region. Yan, France, Germany, United Kingdom, Switzerland. Yun yung mga OECD countries na tinatawag natin. So as you can see here, yung energy consumption nila from 2000 to 2018, almost nag-flatten na siya. No? So they're actually doing a very good job dun sa site na yun. Very effective yung commitments nila towards reducing energy use and emissions. No? But meron yan one thing, ano na tawag na, may twist yan na hindi siya as good as it seems. So but at least, kita natin, ano na meron nila yung energy sila. Hindi siya growing trend, unlike yung sa buong mundo. Like, if you focus on the developed countries, the rich countries, no? Yung energy consumption nila, hindi na siya nag-grow. Nag-plateau na siya, yung energy consumption. And then, yung reasons for that, yung energy intensity nila, super intense, no? Grabe yung improvement ng energy intensity nila. No, yung energy consumption nila per GDP, ano economy nila, ang laki no, i-improve. Ang laki nung in-increase niya or in-increase ng energy intensity from 2000 to year 2000 to 2018. And also, napaka-aggressive din ng decarbonization efforts nila. So, yung carbon intensity nila, yung yellow part, ang laki din yung improvement niya no? From year 2000 to 2020. So, meaning they're installing more renewable sources of energy, possibly more nuclear energy policy related, of course. Kasi nuclear technically considered green green energy. And you can see here na yung economic activity na nag-grow. Nag-increase stars. So, ibig sabihin, possible naman pala talaga. You can grow your economy even though nagde-decrease yung emissions mo. No? So we've seen from the developed countries, from the rich countries, that it's possible naman by improving yung energy intensity and carbon intensity ng economy. Okay? So if you look at yung non-OECD countries, so Philippines included dito, okay, mga other Southeast Asian countries, tayo actually medyo may challenge ngayon, no? Kasi from 2000 to 2018, super aggressive yung increase ng energy consumption natin, energy use. While yung current naman ng emissions natin has been going down from year 2000 to 2018 because of improvements din sa natin, sa energy intensity. Carbon intensity, halos siya, wala tayong masyadong activity. No change, basically. No? Kasi makita nyo sa 2000 to 2018, halos walang visible na green, yellow. So, ibig sabihin, wala tayong masyadong efforts to use more cleaner energy sources. Pero, we're improving our energy efficiency. Itong energy intensity. Economic activity, we can also see naman na growth siya. Halos pareho lang yung size ng volumes from left to right. So yung with regards pala dun sa IPCC commitments, to add, itong mga OECD countries na developed countries, as early as, di ba, IPCC nag-start in 1997. As early as 2014, yung mga developed countries like United Kingdom, na-meet na nila yung carbon reduction commitments nila. Yung greenhouse gas reduction commitments nila. Na-meet na nila yun. So ngayon, it's just up to the developing countries para umabot. But of course, mayroong mga madaming mga strong arguments sa area na to because yung mga developing countries, actually si China, hindi pa siya considered na developed country, no? Mayaman na si China, pero part pa rin siya dun sa developing countries. Kasama na rin siya. So, yung arguments nila dito, it's because itong mga developed countries, the reason why they're able to do this now is because naabot na nila yung campaign. No, kumbaga, na sila yung reason kung ba't nagkaroon na industrialization, kung bakit tayo mayroong climate change, global warming ngayon. And ngayon, na nagkaroon na ng problem, we're trying to solve it. You're asking, sinasabi ko sa mga developing countries, huwag na kayong umakyat dito, kami na lang dito, dyan na lang na. Ang sinasabi ng developing countries, unfair naman, di ba? Na kailangan din namin mga kating dyan sa developed stage. Bakit di natin pinipigilan mo kami? So yan yung kaya mainit na usapan yan, mga sa IPCC, mga sa United Nations discussions. Yung mga presidents ng countries, di ba, nagpupunta doon, nagdedebate sila about this, yung mga climate change. So yung mga discussions. So ito yung mga data na pinag-uusapan nila. No? So Asia excluding China. So actually, very interesting data to. Kasi kung makikita nyo yung kanina, non-OECD countries kasama yung China, nag-decrease yung carbon emissions. If you exclude China doon sa data, nag-increase na. So, ibig sabihin, majority pala ng effort sa developing world to reduce yung emissions galing sa China. No? Because yung aggressive electrification nila, the transport system, syempre nag-install sila ng madaming nuclear plants and renewables. So, if you remove China's equation, the rest of the third world developing countries, wala pa na, hindi wala silang efforts to reduce yung emissions na nag-increase yung emissions natin. So, the energy consumption has been increasing, economic activity has been growing, merong improvement ng energy intensity, however, minimal. Tapos, yung carbon intensity din. Sumasama siya, no? Nandun sa positive side ng yellow column. So, meaning, we're relying more and more pala sa non-clean, non-sustainable energy sources. No? So, that should be alarming, di ba, for us. So, how do you measure itong mga na yan? So, ako yung during my first few years, siguro first 5 or 6 years as a professor, as an academic, ito yung major research area ko. Nag-study ako ng iba't ibang sectors, iba't ibang countries, cities, kung paano ano yung trends ng carbon emissions, energy use nila. So, nagpa-compute ako nito. Yung mga charts na yun. Nagpa-produce ako niyan ng mga charts na yun. So I get data wherever I can. So usually, free data yan. I think I cannot remember any instance na nagbayad ako. to get data. Makuha mo yan sa Philippine Statistics Authority or other countries. Meron din silang mga statistics agencies na FOI, di ba? Sa United Nations o sa ibang bansa, International Energy Agency, World Bank, meron din online database si World Bank. Madami ka makukuha ng data. So nagka-calculate ako ng effects o ganito. So ito yung pinaka-basic, pinakita ko kanina. But if you learn the tool, kapag natuto na kayo, meron ako yung isi-share na illustrative example. You can play around with that later. You can create your own equation, actually. Basta kailangan meron na representative ng population, affluence, sa technology. It doesn't have to always be economic activity. No? Hindi ka limited sa energy intensity. You can explore other things. So, like ako, umabot na ako sa transportation sector. Instead na GDP, yung representative ko for affluence, so for is vehicle kilometers travel. Pwede yun. So instead na money, pinag-uusapan, kilometers travel sa transport sector. Yun. So ito yung basic structure ng methodology na to. And if you pursue it, if you study it well, pwede kayo mag-create ng sarili yung effects later on, sarili yung equation. Pero dapat kung technical siya. Kasi formula ito, yung impact, yung IPA. So yung yung impact, ito yung consequence na dina-measure mo. So pwedeng energy use, pwedeng carbon emissions. Basta depende kung ano yung gusto mong i-measure, i-monitor na effect. Population, it should be representing a population, no? Pwedeng number of persons. Kung transport sector, pwedeng number of vehicles on the road, the number of cars. No? So yun, so ganun yung idea. And affluence, it should be representing activity. So pwedeng economic growth, economic activity, pwedeng kilometers traveled per year. No? So basta it should be representing activity information. At technology, ito yung mga efficiency-related information. So, kanina pinakita natin energy intensity. Pwede, for example, pwede energy intensity ng cement production. Gusto mag-focus sa cement production. No? So, kapag energy intensity ng cement production, pinag-usapan natin, yung population, pwedeng tons of cement produced in a day. So, pwede ganun. So, basta technology should be representing efficiency. Ano siya, kumbaga how much energy or effort yung kailangan mong gamitin to produce the same amount of product. So, ito yung represented ko mga. So, in our previous example, population is represented by population. No? The economic activity represents affluence. And then yung carbon intensity and energy intensity represents technology. So, yan yung basic structure. Dapat ma-follow mo yung IPAP na structure. Tapos pwede ka na mag-invent, pwede ka na gumawa ng sarili mong pattern. No? So usually, maganda pang source ng novelty yun, di ba? Kasi pag magpa-publish ka sa journals or sa conferences, naghahanap sila ng scientific novelty minsan. So pwede mag-introduce ka ng bago mong structure. No? Kasi dapat following pa rin yung IPAP. May isa kang factor na nag-represent siya ng population, may isa na nag-represent na activity or affluence. Tapos meron kang some factors or several factors representing efficiency or technology. So how did I get into this research area? So ito yung mga naging professors and mentors ko when I was starting this area. Kasi si Professor Chu, I don't know if you've met him. Sa Industrial Engineering Department ng LaSalle. So siya ngayon yung Vice President for External Relations namin at Internationalization. And si Professor Leng yung is from Shanghai. So Professor din siya. Isang collaborator and long-time friend ni Professor Chu, Anthony Chu. So sila yung nagturo sa akin actually ng method na to. And my first ever journal publication was on this topic. Tapos sila yung co-authors ko. So yan, so dyan ako na-introduce sa methodology and research area. And I was saying to you, yung ganitong klaseng research, very simple siya. So syempre kailangan mo mag-effort, no? You spend maybe a month, a few weeks to a month din, no? Para talagang maging super seamless na sa inyo. Sa start, syempre, sasakit yung ulo mo. When you're working on the spreadsheet file, when nagawa ka ng calculations, kasi may mga times dyan na nag-error, hahanapin mo yung error. It happens, so that's normal. No? Hindi naman kasi 1 plus 1 equals 2 yung ginagawa natin. Diba? So, research pa rin to. So, mahirap pa rin siya. But I would say, pag nakuha mo na siya, very simple siya. Very fast to do. So, yung gusto ko ipakita dito, very simple siya, very fast. You don't need funds na hindi mo kailangan ng budget to do this. But isa siya sa pinaka prominent topic. So 99.67 yung rating mo, yung prominence rating niya sa Scopus. No? So ano ba yung prominence percentile na to? It's an indicator that shows the current momentum of a topic. It is calculated by weighting median rates for papers plus the topic. Citation count, Scopus views, and average science score. So, very talaga to, no? Very, siya, hot topic siya. Kumbaga, ang daming all over the world, ang daming nag-research ito. So, if you publish at least, napakataas din ng citation numbers mo. No? So, itong 2 papers ko na to about this topic, ito screenshot na to ay itong this 2021 pa. 140 citations na isang paper, published in 2017. By 2021, 140 citations na siya nasa Scopus. And itong other paper published in 2016, 88 citations na. Ngayon, around 2025, I think 220 plus na to, yung citations. So, napaka yan. It will help you grow your career as a researcher, as a professor. If you work on topics like this, which is very interesting for a global audience. So ito yung mga sample papers ko on this topic. So I did a study on understanding the drivers of transportation, energy consumption, and carbon dioxide in the Philippines. No? So yung na-mention ko kanina, yung instead of economic growth na GDP per capita, inintroduce ko yung vehicle kilometers, no, per capita as representative for affluence. Tapos, instead of population, I use number of vehicles. And then from there, I tried to study relationship ng different factors. No? Sa bakit tumataas yung emissions from transport sector? Is it because we have more cars? Or is it because we're using less efficient cars? No? O baka gumagamit tayo ng bigger vehicles. No? So, yun yung pinag-aaralan ko dito sa study na to. Na ano yung reason? Para if we know that, we will know what to recommend na iko-controlin natin. Sabihin ba natin sa government, mag-cap tayo ng purchase ng cars. Ito na ito ginagawa sa Singapore. Di ba? Meron lang limit, di ba? Yung bili nila ng sasakyan sa Singapore. Raffle, di ba? Kailangan bumili ng paandikan sa raffle. Tapos kailangan mabunot ka. Pag nabunot ka, makakabili ka ng car. And hindi rin basta-basta yan, no? Yung raffle ticket nila, parang $12,000 yan. Singapore. No, para makapasok ka lang sa raffle to buy a car, you have to pay parang 12,000 Singapore dollars. So, ganun ka strict, no, yung pag-control nila sa population ng vehicles nila. So, are we going to recommend something similar sa Philippines? It will be careless naman sa atin, no? Kung gagawin natin, pag-recommend tayo, no? Hindi mo na natin pinag-aralan ano yung pinaka-driver sa emissions. And then, yung pinakita ko na sa akin kanina on energy use, ito. Yan, I did something similar for the Philippines. Ito yan, for the Philippine economy. And then I did also something for Iran way back 2017. Because right after I published this, I met an Iranian, PhD student siya during that time sa Germany. Nagka-po siya sa akin, nag-email siya. So nabasa daw niya yung paper ko. Tapos nagpatulong siya sa akin na gumawa ng similar study for Iran. So we published it together in 2017. So, ayun. So, baka wala pang ganitong study sa CDO. Study, decomposition. Tawag dito, decomposition analysis. Decomposition because you're trying to decompose, diba? Dinidecompose mo yung changes in carbon emissions. No? So, you can do that. No? You can publish that. No? So, pwede ka mag-decomposition analysis ng energy use and emissions sa Agenda O. Diba? So, ma-publish mo yun sa journal. For sure. Ma-publish natin yun sa journals. And then I did another study, no? Yung madami akong ano dito innovations dun sa, yung IT-80, ginagawa ko siya ng bagong structure, no? So, naisipan ko na rin na i-apply ko siya to study electricity trading. No, so pinag-aaralan ko ano yung nakakatulong ba electricity trading. So as a background, sa European countries kasi, meron silang electricity trading doon. No? Kasi di ba, landlocked naman yung Europe eh. Di ba? Kahit by walking, makakatawid ka from Germany to France to Switzerland, di ba? As in, connected sila lahat by land. So they're able to trade electricity. So si Germany is selling electricity to a lot of neighboring countries sa Europe. So nagtitrade sila. And yung effect nun sa emissions is the way emissions is accounted, no? More by United Nations, by IPCC. Yung emissions, counted lang siya dun sa country kung saan na-consume or binurn yung fuel. No? So let's say you use coal to generate electricity and then you burn the coal in Germany. Nandun yung power plant eh. No? You burn the coal in Germany. Pag nagkasisihan na yan, nalabas sa IPCC yung emissions, kay Germany accounted yun yung emissions. Pero sabi ni Germany, si France naman yung gumamit electricity. It doesn't matter. Kung saan na-consume yung fuel, dun siya accounted. So pinag-aralan ko yun, yung cycle na yun. Because in Southeast Asia, believe it or not, meron na tayong electricity trading. Meron din kasi countries in Southeast Asia which are also connected by land. So like in Laos, Myanmar, China, Malaysia, Thailand. Magkakapit-bahay yan eh. They're also doing electricity trading already. And now I think we're also considering exploring. Meron na tayong interconnected na yung Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao grid, I think eh. So parang example na rin yun, no, parang electricity trading. No? So because the reason why this is interesting to study electricity trading because there are countries na madami silang renewable energy resources. More than enough for their own use. So like yung Laos tsaka Myanmar, I think they have a lot of hydro power and they are very small country, very small economy. So much hydropower, hindi nila kailangan lahat yun. So they can actually use that to create electricity that they can sell in other countries like China, Malaysia, Thailand. So, pinag-aaral ko dito, ano yung effect nun? How can that um, reduce yung global emissions if we do electricity trading and then of course countries which have a lot of renewable energy sources, they can sell to other neighboring countries. So, imagine using the same tool, nagiging komplikado na, nagiging complicated na yung study ko. You can start with something basic, like energy use and emissions in Cagayan de Oro. Walang kayo ng population, GDP. Meron tayong tinatawag na GRDP, yung Gross Regional Domestic Product. Makuha niyan sa Philippine Statistics Authority, maybe, or DTI. No? Yeah, pwede kasi simulan yan. Gawan nyo ng simple study. Mapublish nyo sa journals. For sure. Mapublish. And then, meron din ako previous study on production and consumption-based energy use in ASEAN. So, kami dyan na decomposition analysis study. I think spatial decomposition ang ginamit namin dito sa study. I'll show you later yung pinagkaiba na ano nga yung isang term? Ako lang. Malimutan ko. Temporal and spatial decomposition. Pag-usapan natin natin. So, dito sa production and consumption-based energy use. So, nag-start ako sa area na ito ng research, diba? Emissions, economic activity, pinag-aaralan ko bakit mataas yung emissions ng isang bansa, bakit sa ibang bansa mababa. So, napupunta na ako sa mas specialized research areas. So, electricity trading, ito naman, pinakompare yung production and consumption-based emissions. So, ano ba ibig sabihin ng production-based emissions? Production-based emission is katulad yung in-explain ko kanina. Kung saan emissions is accounted to the country who burned the fuel. So let's say coal, it was burned in Germany. So even though yung electricity na yun, binili ni France, when you do accounting ng emissions, matcha-charge pa rin siya kay Germany. Yun yung production base. So meaning, yung pag-compute natin ng emissions based kung saan na-produce yung emissions. Hindi kung sino yung gumamit. Yung consumption-based emissions naman, tungkol sa sino yung gumamit, sino yung nakinabang. No? Sino yung end user ng emissions na yan? So let's say, nag-produce ka ng electricity sa Germany, nag-burn ka ng coal, pero yung electricity na yun, pinroduce mo for France. Si France yung gagamit. Siya yung makikinang. So yung consumption-based emissions, it's arguing na dapat when we calculate or account for emissions, yung end user yung ginagawa nating account. Nakuha niyo ba yung difference in production and consumption-based? So ngayon, yung direct yung practice nila, production-based emissions pa rin. Pero mga nag-argue na consumption-based dapat yung pag-account natin. And dito na pumapasok yung sinasabi ko na twist dito sa OECD countries. Kasi nakita nga yung energy use nila nag-flatten na. Energy intensity nila nag-improve, carbon intensity nag-improve. And one of the culprits dito reasons is because yung richer countries, ang practice nila since nagkaroon ng ganitong concern, no? They've been outsourcing activities nila sa developing countries. Diba? Ang dami nating manufacturing plants dito. Filipino companies ba yan? Hindi. Di ba? Hindi yung mga manufacturing plants natin dito, hindi Filipino companies yun. Pero yung mga pinaproduce na yun, tayo ba yung gumagamit? Di ba dami nating manufacturing plants sa Pilipinas? Yung mga products na yun, tayo ba yung gumagamit ng lahat ng produce na yun? Hindi, ina-export natin sa kanila yun. Pinabalik natin. So technically, dinadala nila sa atin yung mga dirty parts ng business. Tayo yung magdudumi dito, tayo yung mag-emit ng carbon. Pag natapos na yung product, ibabalik sa kanila. Sila yung mag So kaya, in a way, yun yung, yung dark side din ng climate change. No? So yung mga developed countries, since mayaman sila, mauutak sila, matatalino, pinapasa nila sa developing countries yung burden. Tapos at the end of the day, tayo ngayon yung na kailangan natin mag-slow down ang economy ng GDP growth para ma-meet natin ang carbon emission targets. But why are we accepting it? Kailangan natin ng pera eh. Di ba? Mag-invest pa naman yung US ng 2 billion, di ba? Para magtayo ng planta dyan. So, accept natin yun. Filipinos need jobs, etc. So, yun yung sad part. Itong lahat ng climate change. Yes, so, carbon leakage. Yes, so carbon leakage yan. So kaya yun yung mga arguments na baka dapat on a global level, we should promote consumption-based energy use. Parang sino yung gumamit, sino yung end user ng product, siya dapat yung mag-e-effort. Kasi in the first place, kung hindi mo naman pinagawa sa akin, hindi ko naman magagawin. Parang ganun, di ba? Ganun yung reason. So yan yung mga, yung dito sa area na to, sa space ng emissions and economic activity. Yan na yung mga discussions ngayon, yung endeavor. So if you start on this research, yan, pag nagbasa-basa na kayo, may involved din kayo sa mga ganyan na topics. And other similar studies na ginawa ko, so meron na rin akong household or residential energy use level na study. So yung data ko ng household energy use, nakuha ko siya sa Family Income and Expenditure Survey. Ano nga ba yung publish nito? Probably Philippine Statistics Authority in Cebu. So, meron yan, nag-survey sila ng around 42,000 families, households all over the Philippines. Very comprehensive data set. Meron makakuha ka ng data dyan, on different things na ini-spend, pinagagasasan ng Filipino families. Yan, pag-aaralan pa rin yung diners to increasing energy sa households. Ito related to sa increasing ang traffic flow in Philippine cities, related to traffic flow din. Ito, CO2 emissions sa ASEAN, focus yun sa ASEAN countries. So madaming possible studies. And just an overview muna ng methodology. So here on the left, these are the different alternatives. So yung mga people who are doing decomposition analysis, hindi lang naman isa yung approach. The one I will be teaching you and showing you mostly today is yung pinatawag natin na LLDI, Logarithmic Mean Deletion Index. So ito yung equation. So magpaprovide ako sa inyo ng Excel file na makikita nyo doon paano ko ginagawa yung computations. Nandun yung formulas. I'm keeping the formulas there para pwede nyo siyang pag-aralan. And then you can explore doing something similar yourself. So nakakahilo, nakakaluga yung formula kasi meron mga summation, logarithm, natural logarithm, etc. etc. But relax, madali lang yan. Pag nakita niyo Excel file, it's super basic, basta dapat very organized yung spreadsheet na lalagay mo. So, pare-pareho lang naman yung equations ito, no? Um, we just have one for each effect. So, if you remember the name I had, population, activity, um, intensity, and then another one dito, structure. So, yung structure and effect, it breaks down yung technology component. No? So, like, if you're studying about fuel consumption, yung energy, yung fuel, pwede mo siya i-break down into different types. No? Gasoline, diesel, renewable, coal, etc. Na pwede mo din gawin yan. Para, this is one of the effects na pinag-aaralan din natin. Kung wala siya dun sa global study kanina, mamaya pag nagpakita ko ng country level data, makikita niyo ano yung use niya. So, because possible na yung isang country or isang sector, hindi siya nagbago. No? Pwede hindi siya nagbago ng consumption. Baka steady lang siya. Steady lang yung economic activity niya. Steady lang din yung energy consumption niya. But possible na nag-shift siya to dirtier types of fuel. No? Pwedeng dati, 30% coal lang ginagamit niya and then 70% natural gas. Pwedeng nag-increase siya ng coal, naging 50% coal, 50% natural gas. So kahit steady lang yung activity niya and energy use, magugulat ka yung emissions niya nag-grow at tumataas. So yung magsasabi sa iyo is yung structural effect. So yan. So ito yung mga different alternatives. So yung mga economists, no, yung mga hardcore economists natin, they would prefer using input-output tables, like input-output studies. So mas mahirap itong gawin, no? Mas complicated siya. Ang problem dito is yung data. No? Kasi yung one and only source lang natin ng input-output tables is NEDA. I think or ano na ba siya ngayon? Dev na yata yung pangalan. NEDA. So since sa kanila lang galing yun. And I think hanggang ngayon, 2018 pa rin, yung pinaka-latest na input-output table. And hindi pa siya comprehensive. Parang high-level sectors pa lang. Yung pinaka-comprehensive yata natin, 2010 pa. So that makes it difficult to make this kind of study using input-output tables. No? The one I'm using, mostly is yung LMDI, or yung logarithmic mean division index. Yung advantages niya is very easy to use, no simple calculation, simple data requirements. It has no residuals, it handles zero values, and easier to interpret for policymakers. As you observed or experienced probably earlier, ang bilis lang, di ba first time yung nakita yun, yung charts niya yung as I explained it to you, madali nyo namang na-absorb. Madaling maintindihan. So, kaya maganda yung LMBI, madali siyang explain, even for policymakers. Let's say, explain mo to sa isang senator or governor, di ba? Pag pinakita mo siya ng other input-output table, baka sabihin niya, wag na yan, hindi ko naiintindihan, di ba? Pero pag pinakita mo sa kanya yung simple charts na pinakita ko kanina, napakadali niyang i-absorb mo. Ang disadvantage ng LMBI, it cannot handle negative indices. So ano ba yung mga indices? Ito yung population growth, economic activity, energy intensity, and carbon intensity. So far, it is not much of a problem yet. Kahit yung ibig sabihin, kapag at least one of those four, kung nagkaroon siya ng negative value, magkaka-error na. Hindi mo na masasolve yung equation. Magkaka-error siya. Because there's a logarithmic function niya. So magkaka-error siya. Pero so far, it's not much of a problem kasi kung mag-stick ka lang dun sa apat na indices, hindi naman sila nag-negative usually. So nagkakaroon ka lang ng problem with negative indices kapag nag-i-innovate ka na. Katulad ng ginagawa ko na pinapalitan ko yung indices. Na instead na economic activity, vehicle kilometers traveled yung ginagamit ko. So kapag nagpapalit ka kasi, kapag nag-i-innovate ka, possible na maka-encounter ka ng mga values na nag-negative. Pero so far, wala namang negative na economic activity, wala namang negative na population, di ba? Wala namang negative na energy use. So, yeah. Pero pag nag-innovate ka na, pwede magkaroon ng negative values.
Sorry, how about you, the experience natin?
Dati, drama sa yung COVID, ano siya actually yung data kasi hindi siya growth. As in as in GDP talaga siya. So kahit bumaba siya, positive pa rin yung value ng GDP. So yung GDP mismo itself, hindi siya mag-negative. Hindi mag-negative yung GDP mismo. So, yun yung challenge yung LMBI. So hindi yan handle na ng dito isa yung last pairs index. Can handle negative indices. No? Madali din siya gamitin, easy to interpret. But yung problem sa last pairs index, since mas simple yung calculation niya, meron siyang residuals. So pag meron residuals, meaning, pag nagpakita ka ng chart like this, meron kang another column dito, different color, and unexplained values siya. So meaning, merong amount na hindi mo mapaliwanag kung saan siya nanggaling, ano yung cost niya. So yun yung problem doon. Unlike kapag gumamit ka ng LMBI, lahat ng changes accounted for sila. How much dun sa increase in emissions due to population, how much yun due sa economic growth, how much yun due sa energy intensity, etc. Lahat sila accounted for. Pag meron kang residuals, merong quantity ng increase or decrease sa carbon emissions na hindi mo siya mapaliwanag. Na hindi mo alam kung saan siya nanggaling. So yun yung problem kapag ginamit mo yung last pairs index. Hindi nga ma-account for 100% yung changes. Yun yung limitation niya. Meron siyang residuals palagi dun sa calculation. No, may natitira na certain value na unallocated siya. Life cycle assessment, and meron din tayo mga panel or regression tools na. So just want to show you na madaming alternatives. No? Kung maging expert na kayo sa LMBI, madami na kayo na-publish, pwede na kayo tumawid no, sa other methodologies na para continuous yung producing ng publications then in this area. And as I mentioned earlier, meron din tayong tinatawag na temporal versus spatial decomposition. So nauna si temporal, right? Temporal decomposition, basically, ang sinasabi nga lang dyan, pinag-aaralan mo yung drivers to sa changes as a function of time. So yung x-axis natin dito, time-based siya. So pwedeng months, years, weeks, days, no? Up to you, no? Depende dun sa level of resolution no? ng data set. So yun yung temporal study. So you're comparing your drivers year to year. No? For this year, ano yung main drivers, the next year, ano yung main drivers. So year-to-year comparison kapag temporal. And then for spatial decomposition, instead of time, no? Instead of one country, kino-compare mo yung performance niya over time. Yung spatial decomposition, kino-compare siya to compare yung performance ng different places. No? Different countries, pwedeng different persons, no? Pwedeng different technologies. Basta dapat yung data mo, collected siya during the same time period. Collected during the same time period. Tapos, ikaw compare mo yung performance na one country to another. So dito yung pino-compare dito ng performance is regional. Yung emissions, transport pala to. So, pino-compare ko yung traffic conditions ng different regions in the Philippines. Okay, so meron ito R1, R2, R3. So regions yan. Ayan yung regions in the Philippines. So meron bagong alternative ngayon. So pag nagsawa na kayo sa temporal decomposition ng LMDI, pwede yung explore yung spatial decomposition. No? Instead of comparing time periods, pwede ka mag-compare ng different countries then. So ito yung mas bagong version ng decomposition analysis, yung spatial decomposition. Konti pa lang yan. So I think, may nagkubat-huling na check. When I published this paper on spatial decomposition around 2023 siguro, siguro pag nag-literature review yan, less than 10 pa lang. Yan nagpa-publish ng ganyan klaseng paper. So kung papasukin niyan, napakalaki din ang chance na napakadaling maka-accept ng paper sa journals. So, yan. So, keep in mind, mechanical engineer ako, no? But I'm also doing mga ganito, energy, economic studies. So, nothing is stopping us naman. I think as academics, no? Kung ano naman yung kailangan, we can go there. Di ba? If the country needs studies in this area, we can provide our din naman, di ba? Yung capabilities natin. So, I hope you don't hold yourselves back no, na ano ako electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, hindi ako pwedeng gumawa ng economic studies. Pwede rin. Kasi energy naman is related to engineering. Right? So what makes it an interesting research tool also? Um, I would say na yung napaka-simple, di ba, nung study. But actually, when you publish a paper on this, yung bang discussion, napupunta dun sa pag-explain, o dun sa pag-explain ng results. So I will show you some examples later because hindi enough yun na napapakita ka na ng chart, tapos babasahin mo yung chart. You have to dig in dun sa data. No? So magpapakita ko ng examples namin. How do I dig in dun sa data? Because you have to explain it to the stakeholders. Kailangan mag-provide ng evidence why that is true. No, you do not just, you have to criticize. So yung tinatawag natin, you have to criticize your results. Na hindi pa nakita mo yung data na gano'n, okay na yan. Yan yung sabi ng data eh. Kailangan mo mag-dig in ng other information to support yung findings mo. Yan, so critical analysis of the results usually lead to plenty of interesting findings. No? So after you generate your decomposition analysis results, you should take the next step and dig further to understand why that is happening in your data. So this is a requirement no, kapag magpa-publish ka sa journals. Now, aside from presenting your data, you also have to explain. No? You have to provide supporting information dun sa findings mo. Let's look at some examples on how we interpret and analyze yung findings na sa ganitong study. So ito yung sa first ever paper ko on decomposition analysis, focusing on the Philippine economy. So ito yung decomposition analysis results. So temporal decomposition ito. So we studied dito from 1991 hanggang 2014. Okay? So, itong part na to, we see na malaki yung contribution ay itong purple portion dito is a structural effect. And then I think yung structural effect dito is economic structure siya. So meaning, yung GDP, di ba maritime gross domestic product, pinrate down ko siya into different sectors. So merong industrial sector, transport sector, service sector. So binrate down ko siya, pinag-iwahiwalay ko. Para to check, aling specific sector ba nagko-contribute sa growth ng emissions or yung tumutulong sa pag-reduce ng emissions. Tapos ang red column, economic activity dito, yung needs, energy intensity, and waste population. So what I want you to see here dito sa chart na to is napaka-prominent ng mga purple columns, di ba? Ang laki ng purple columns compared sa other ones. Yung purple columns, yan yung economic structure. Sabihin, saan ba nanggagaling yung income ng Pilipinas? Nanggagaling ba siya sa service sector, sa manufacturing sector, transport sector? No? And to see here, na pinag-uusapan natin dito, emissions. Napaka-prominent ng effect. Ibig sabihin, ang laki pala ng effect sa emissions ng country natin. Nung pagpapalit-palit natin no, nung priority sectors natin. So sino ba naman yung titingin dun sa area na yun, di ba? Na, syempre, pag sinabi natin na climate change, energy use, siguro mag-focus tayo sa, okay, mga cement plants, magbukas kayo ng kuryente. Yung mga buildings, focus kayo ng energy efficiency, gumamit kayo nito. Yung mga jeep, gawin natin electric yan. Sino bang mag-iisip na isa pala sa culprits na pag-increase natin ng energy use is yung shifting ng priority sectors natin. No? So yung something as simple as yung changes pa lang sa economic structure ng isang bansa can significantly affect no emissions niya. Okay? And then also, when I dig further into this data, recently, or not even recently, no, kailan ba nag-start yung mga call centers? May 10 years na rin ba? Probably, no, baka may 10 years na siguro, or a little less than 10 years siguro, yung growth ng call centers, may service sector sa Philippines. So during that time, malaki yung natulong pala ng growth ng service sector sa pag-decrease ng emissions natin. So why? Because yung service sector, hindi nila kailangan ng masyadong energy-intensive equipment to make the same amount of money. So let's say the Philippine economy,
to produce 1 billion pesos income from manufacturing, how many machines do you need, di ba? Di ba? How many plants do you need to build, di ba? Whereas kung call centers, service centers, um, what equipment do you need not to produce 1 billion? And we all know na napakalaki ng income mo sa mga call centers, service sector. So not the same level of energy yung kailangan mo. So you only need, kailangan ba ng call center agent? Computer, microphone, di ba? And phone, the internet connection. So yung growth ng service sector during this time period, malaki pala yung natulong niya sa Philippines na para mag-decrease yung emissions natin. So we might not be aware of that. Pero isa pala yun sa reasons bakit na-prevent natin yung rapid increase ng emissions. So because nag-increase yung share ng service sector sa economy natin, sa economic structure. So with that, ibig sabihin, what if nawala bigla na yung call centers na bumalik tayo sa industrial economy, sa manufacturing, nag-grow yung manufacturing, ano yung magiging effect nun? Siyempre, magiging increase din yung emissions natin. Something to watch out din, no? Kasi ang dami nating efforts, di ba, to control emissions, and then in a snap of a finger, magpalimlan tayo ng economic structure, magbabaliwala na lahat yung natin, efforts. Considering na meron tayong commitments, di ba, sa IPCC. Sabi natin, 75% reduction in emissions. Dapat gawin natin yan, no? So yeah, so that's how you dig into your data. So you present the charts, and then titignan mo ano ba yung significant effects dito. And if you look at it, yung purple columns, they seem to be very impactful sa changes. Then you have to study further. So yung ginawa ko, tinignan ko yung share ng different economic sectors sa GDP. And then I tried to study, ano kaya yung reason bakit sobrang laki ng effect ng economic structure sa emissions. And then you explain that doon sa article, doon sa paper na gagawin mo for publication. So ito ay sa Iran, di ba? I said I did a study for Iran before. So yung interesting dito, napakalaki din yung structural effect niya. Pero yung structural effect niya, it's not economic structure, no? Energy structure siya. Kasi si Iran, napakalaki ng share niya ng hydropower. Ito, siguro around 10% ng production niya is coming from hydro. No? But around 2007, we see na nagkaroon siya ng ito yung may emissions trend in Iran, yung color gray, the line. Around 2007, nag-shoot up yung emissions niya na ito yung aggregated changes. So you can see here yung emissions in Iran. Around 2007 to 2008, nag-increase sobra, nag-increase ng yung carbon intensity niya, nag-increase by about 30, no? 30 tons CO2 per gigawatt hour. 2008 nag-increase, and then nag-stay na siya doon, hindi na siya bumaba ulit. Napakalaki ng effect na yun. No? So we had to study our data. Bakit nangyari yun? So ang laki pala ng effect ng structure, ng energy structure ni Iran sa emissions niya. Kasi wala naman silang ginawa na any other changes. No? Sa economy, pareho lang. Yung sectors nila, pareho lang din. Maybe yung amount of coal na i-import nila, hindi naman nagbago. Ano nangyari? From 2007 to 2008, bakit biglang nag-blow up yung emissions nila out of nowhere? So you have to dig in them. So yun, yung LMDI, it helps you find interesting events like this one. And then pwede mo siya ngayong i-dig in para pag-aralan mo ano yung nangyari during that period. And yung finding namin was, in 2007, nagkaroon ng drought. Nagkaroon pa rin ng drought sa Iran, yung tagtuyot. So yung hydro production nila, nag-decline siya. So from 10%, naging halos 1 or 2% lang siya ito. And hindi nahirapan silang makabawi. So, yun. So yun yung isang pala. So imagine things like that, if we are not able to foresee them, pwede rin it affects our commitments. Kasi lalo na, hindi naman for sure, hindi naman in-expect ni Iran yun. Kung nag-commit siya ng certain percent reduction in emissions for that year, possible na hindi niya na-meet yung target niya because of unforeseen circumstances like that. Na ibig sabihin, yung mga policy makers natin or us, we also have to think, ano yung pwede natin i-recommend na measures, di ba? To protect us from risks like that. So yun. So, when I did this study, actually nagkaroon pa ako ng idea for another next study na gusto kong gawin on this, no? Na actually hanggang ngayon hindi ko pa siya nagagawa. I-share kasi yung idea, no? Baka gusto ko siyang explore. Yung realization ko kasi dito, yung mga renewable energy sources natin, like hydro, solar, for wind, I'm not yet sure kung applicable itong idea na to. Di ba, we're relying on them. Hydro, solar, relying on them to reduce yung emissions natin to combat climate change. However, ito palang mga technologies na to, they're very sensitive to global warming. No? So like yung hydro, so syempre habang tumataas yung temperature, habang nagkakaroon ng global warming, natutuyo yung water sources natin, yung rivers. No? So ibig sabihin, the more you delay the solution, naging less effective yung hydropower. Kaya dapat mas sinimulan yung pag-grow na hydropower. Hindi mo tinuloy, kailangan mo next year. After 10 years, wala na. Kasi natuyo na yung natuyo na yung river. The same with solar. Kasi yung solar, actually, solar power, solar PV, no? As nag-increase yung temperature ng panel, nagde-decrease yung efficiency niya. Meron temperature coefficient yung solar panels, no? I think around 0.14% per degree Celsius. No? So yung efficiency ng panels natin, I think measured yan at around 25 degrees Celsius. No, measure yan sa lab. Yan, bumili ka ng panel, nakita mo sa spec sheet, 40% efficient, no? 40% efficiency. Measured yan at 25 degrees Celsius sa lab. Yun yung standard nila eh. No? For every degree Celsius na aakit siya sa 25, lagi 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 degrees of temperature ng panel, mababawasan yung efficiency niya by the temperature coefficient, which is yung usually 0.14%. No? So do you have an idea how hot yung panels natin during operation without any cooling? Umaabot siya ng 70 to 90 degrees Celsius. So what do you expect? Diba yung 14% mo, baka 8% na lang yun in reality, or 7%. And the more we delay climate change and global warming, nagiging less effective yung weapons natin, yung tools natin. So, yun. So, that's something that you can study then. You can check yung parang time delay relationship ng renewable energy technologies, no? With respect to solving yung emissions. So, yeah. So, when you do these kinds of studies, madami kang makukuha bagong idea. No? Kasi makikita mo ano yung nangyayari sa iba't ibang bansa. You will see what are the different events. And then ma-realize, kailangan pa na ng solution nito, no? Kasi katulad yan, yung nakita ko dito yung drought, ang laki ng effect niya sa emissions goal. So doon ako na-alarm na ang laki pala talaga ng effect nung yung global warming, no? Even sa effectiveness nung natin, yung solutions. Kasi si Iran, relying a lot siya on hydro para mapapaba niya yung emissions niya. Suddenly, natuyo yung mga rivers, wala na siyang hydro. Kailangan niya na ng ibang solution sa problem. So yan, a lot of interesting ideas can come up then with renewable studies. So another one, the for Philippine transport sector, diba, as I was mentioning, tinarget yung instead na economic growth, GDP, vehicle kilometers, no, yung ginamit ko na replacement. Basically, instead na money, kilometers travel din pag-usapan natin. Tingnan natin anong effect sa emissions. So ito, spatial decomposition yung ginamit ko dito. Hindi na siya time-based. So I was comparing different regions in this study. And some highlights lang dito din, chinek ko, kapag nag-increase ba yung public transport share sa transport modes, bababa yung emissions. Because yun yung pinapush natin, di ba? Dapat more public transport, less cars, no? Bababa yung emissions kapag in-increase natin yung public transport. So, tinagyan for jeepneys, tinagyan for pedicabs, or mga pedicabs kasi they're not emitting anything. And based sa data natin, it's not enough, no? So, you can see here, no, kahit nag-increase yung vehicle kilometers travel ng public transport services in different regions, yung trend ng emissions, increasing pa rin siya. So, meaning, it's not really the problem. Yung share, hindi siya talaga yung problem. Huwag natin dapat pag-initan yung share ng modes natin na dapat po mas madami yung ganito, mas madami yan. It's really the technology talaga parang, tsaka yung activity. Kasi if you will, yung kailangan natin i-control, in that case is, hindi ko na na-share yung charts, it's really the demand. Yung demand talaga. No? Ibig sabihin kasi kahit na mapalitan mo yung type ng vehicle na sasakyan ng tao, kung kailangan lumabas ng bahay, lalabas pa rin siya ng bahay. So we have to find solutions on how we can decrease yung need to travel. No? So like normalizing work from home, di ba? Sa other companies, di ba? Yung pandemic, madami sa atin yung nag-aalala na work from home arrangements. So because pag inalaw mo sila mag-work from home, they will reduce na yung the need to go out, di ba? Sa bahay because hindi na nila kailangan mag-commute, di ba? Or pwede rin na mag-design tayo ng more compact cities, di ba? So, dapat syempre malapit yung places, yung residential places, malapit sila sa groceries, sa schools, di ba, sa church, etc. No, because yung US, pinauso kasi nila yung urban sprawl eh. Tinatawag natin ng urban sprawl na yung subdivision, ang layo niya, maybe 5 kilometers away siya from the school, the malls, no? So, yan, yan din tayo tinatawag na compact city development, no? Or yung multi-use development, no? So, mga pwedeng gawin yan no? Para ma-reduce basically yung need, no? Yung demand ng mga tao na mag-travel. No? So, if you present information or data like these policymakers natin, you can convince them better na mapapakita sa na hindi naman yan yung problema eh. Ito yung problema natin. Kasi pwede mong tignan yung data, no? Papakita mo na kahit increase mo yan, yung share ng public transport, hindi pa bababa yung emissions. Sabi ko sa kanila na kailangan natin ibaba talaga yung demand, no? Yung transport demand talaga, transport activity. Okay, so na-share ba natin sa kanila yung Excel file? Sige, so
Sa chat box.
sa Zoom. How about yung mga hindi kaya naka-Zoom? Doon sa kaya natin, yung Google Classroom natin last time. So yeah, so if you don't get a copy nitong Excel file na to, you can approach sila branch, no? So papakita ko din dito yung Excel file. So you can play around with this during your own time. Pwede nyo siyang pag-aralan, no? So meron ako ditong dummy data or representative data, no, ito. So for a basic IPAT na study ng population, affluence, technology, tas emissions na study. So basically, ganito yung kailangan mo i-collect na data. So if you want to do this for Cagayan de Oro, pwede mo gawin mismo itong Excel file mo, kapalitan mo lang yung data. No? Kunin mo yung population in ng Cagayan de Oro on different years. GRDP or America yung income or economic activity data from Cagayan de Oro. Kunin mo for different years. Energy mix, kung meron kayo mga nito na ano ba yung share no, na electricity production dito. Gumagamit ba? I think yung production dito sa Mindanao as one yata. No? Probably yung energy mix na ito, makuha yung sa Department of Energy. I think for Mindanao, meron tayong one grade. So pwede yung kunin yung mix energy electricity production sa Department of Energy na website. Energy consumption, I think makuha mo ito sa DOE or if not, pwede kayo check sa local government kung meron data na available. Ito emissions, pwede nyo computing yan yourself. No? So naglagay ako dito ng emission factors. Ito emission factors, napakadali kunin yan. Pwede yung emission factors, unique yan for different fuel types. No? So kahit i-google mo lang yan, emission factor na coal, natural gas, diesel, gasoline. So you can get that factor. So basically, you just have to multiply the emission factor dito sa energy consumption of the emissions. So ito lang yung formula yan. Okay? So you just multiply yung energy consumption by the emission factor to get yung emissions in tons CO2. You divided by 1 million na yan para ma-convert lang yung tons to million tons. Okay. And then dito sa baba, we just compute yung tinatawag natin ng indices. So population is just population. So copy na lang yung value dito. And then yung economic activity. If you remember, di ba, ano yung definition natin ng economic activity? GDP divided by population. So ganun lang yung formula niya. So I'm giving the formulas dito, no? Pwede mo siyang pag-aralan. So GDP divided by population. Energy intensity is, ano yung definition natin ng energy intensity? Energy consumption divided by GDP. So energy consumption divided by GDP. Okay. And then energy intensity, energy structure. So ito yan. No? So, kukompahin niya lang ito. Yung energy mix lang yan, basically, yung energy structure. So, ilang percent ng energy mo yung galing sa coal, ilan yung galing sa natural gas, ilan yung galing sa renewables. And then from there, makakapag-compute na tayo no, ng mga effects natin. No? Ito na yung nakita natin kanina may logarithmic function. So, very simple lang. Tignan niyo yung formula niya. Iksi lang. So, yung kung nakita niyo yung buong equation kanina, ganito lang yung implementation niya sa Excel. Very simple. So, kunin mo lang yung difference of carbon emissions from previous year to current year. Tapos, gamitin mo lang yung logarithmic function ng Excel ng ln. Tapos, ito lang, yung indices mo, you just divide. Tapos, subtract mo lang yung carbon emissions. So, you can, ang napakadali ng implementation. Yung nakita nyo kanina na may summation, ln, ganyan lang siya isulat sa Excel. So, pwedeng kahit palitan nyo lang yung ano mo. Keep the formula, palitan nyo lang yung values doon sa spreadsheet. Mga gamit nyo siya. And then yung, di ba merong summation doon? Merong summation doon sa formula kanina. So, ito lang yan, ano? So, yung pag-sum sa kanya, as in literal na i-add together mo na. Literal na sum lang siya. Summation lang talaga siya. So, you compute each individual effect, no? One by one. Tapos you just get the summation. Ganun effect niya. So, yung, paano mo i-check? How do you confirm na tama yung calculations mo? Na tama yung computation mo? Ito. So, yung, so when you add together, no, itong effects na yan. So, let's say from year 1 to year 2. Meron tayong population effect, economic activity effect, diba? Energy intensity effect, and structural effect. Yung mga different effects na yan, basically yan yung meron kang change ng emissions from year 1 to year 2. Diba? You're trying to explain, kunyari meron kang 10 million tons or 10 million tons na difference from year 1 to year 2. Nag-increase yung emissions mo. You're trying to explain, doon sa 10 million tons na yun, how much is due to population growth? Yeah? How much is due to economic activity? How much is due to structural changes? Yun yung ginagawa natin pag nagde-decomposition analysis tayo. So, ibig sabihin, when you add together yung different effects na yan, no? Yung sum niya dapat equal exactly dun sa difference, no? Nung emissions from year 1 to year 2. So ito, ilan yung difference ng emissions from year 1 to year 2? Around 0.3. 0.3 siya. 0.3 million tons. No? Yung difference ng emissions from year 1 to year 2. At tignan natin dito, itong value na to, yung sum ng lahat ng effects, equivalent siya to 0.3. So, ganun lang kasimple yung pag-check natin. So, dapat yung sum ng lahat ng effects, when you add them together, equivalent siya dapat dun sa actual na difference ng emissions from year 1 to year 2. Kapag hindi pareho yung value na yun, kailangan mo lang hanapin sa ka nagkamali. Baka nagkamali ka sa formula, no, may namali kang pindot na cell or click na cell. You just have to troubleshoot. Usually, nandun lang naman yung trouble nun. Hahanapin mo kung saan ka nagkamali doon sa formula. Okay? Basta dapat yung sum ng lahat ng effects should be equal sa actual difference ng emissions from year 1 to year 2. So, ganun din. So, for other years, for year 4 to year 5, i-check mo din. For each year interval, dapat yung sum ng lahat ng effects pareho doon sa actual difference. And then from there, you can create nice charts already na katulad nito. So, yung blue dito is yung population effect. Yung orange is yung activity effect. Yellow is structural. And then green is intensity, energy intensity effect. A simple interpretation nito. So, we can say na population growth, yung main driver. So, sa emissions growth niya. And yung tumutulong sa atin na i-decrease yung emissions is economic activity, tsaka yung structural changes. So, ibig sabihin, meron tayong efforts to sa economic side. No? We're trying to decrease economic activity natin. And then we're also trying to improve yung energy mix natin. However, sobrang lakas ng talaga no? Population growth and nagde-decline pa yung energy efficiency natin. No? Kaya, nag-increase pa rin yung emissions. No? Ito, hypothetical country natin sa example. Okay, so ganun yung basic interpretation ng method. So, spatial LMDI, nagbigay din ako sa inyo ng example. As I mentioned to you, konti pa lang yung gumagawa itong spatial LMDI version. So, if you will get into this kind of study, napakadali pa niyang i-publish. Because very full pa lang.
Per region lang naman.
Yes, so dito sa Philippines, per region, madaling makuha ng regional data sa PSA, DOE. So, konti pa lang yung gumagawa nito. So, if you will get into this, it can help you have a lot of journal publication immediately. It can help you have a lot of citations immediately then. And then, of course, you can still do whatever you like. Ako, I do vehicle testing, di ba? I do mga energy efficiency studies, I do electric vehicles related studies. Noong nakapag-attend ko yung mga other talks ko last year dito or the last few days, nakita niyo yung mga iba't ibang ginagawa ko. So you don't have to limit yourself into one area. No, you can do a lot of researches. And ako, this is one of the researches na I do then because it's very fruitful yung topic na to. So, spatial decomposition, same formulas, exactly the same formulas and approach, but instead of year 1, year 2, year 3, di ba dito kanina? Instead of comparing different year periods, ang kino-compare natin different places. No? Kaya spatial, space, spatial decomposition. Because we're comparing different places. And yung manner ng comparison natin dito is, doon sa temporal LMDI, kino-compare natin yung different years. No? Katulad nito, check this out. So, we're comparing year 1 to year 2, tapos year 2 to year 3. Kumbaga progressive siya, no? Kino-compare mo yung before and after. Sa spatial LMDI, you are comparing each place, no, each region, to a benchmark region. Ano ba yung benchmark region? It's not existing, no? Hypothetical region lang siya, and the current method natin is we just get the average, no, of all the regions involved. For population, we just get the average population across all regions. Ayun yung magiging population ng benchmark region. For GDP, same way then, no? You just get the average GDP of all the regions. So, yun yung magiging GDP ng benchmark region natin. And this applies for all other indices. No? Kunin mo lang yung average ng different regions.
So, yung sa next slide, bubuhay yung data.
Ano yan?
Yan, coal, natural gas. Ay,
Yan, average din. Average din siya. Kasi yung benchmark region, ano siya, hindi siya totoong lugar, hindi siya totoong region. Hypothetical region lang siya. Nagagamitin mo for comparison. So, sa other places. So, yun lang. Kailangan mo lang mag-establish ng benchmark region.
Anong criteria ng benchmark?
Yun. So, isa din siyang area ng study. No? So, yun nag-introduce nitong LMDI method. Siya din yung nagsimula nitong spatial LMDI. Ito yung initial recommendation niya. Kunin yung average ng different regions. Pero meron itong mga challenges. Kasi kapag meron kang isang region na extreme siya, like sa Philippines, yung NCR. Pag tinignan mo yung data ng NCR, napaka-laki ng difference niya. Kaya yung GDP, lahat ng ibang region, pantay-pantay, biglang si NCR gano'n. Population, lahat ng regions natin, pantay-pantay halos, biglang si NCR taas. Ang consequence doon, pag sinali mo si NCR dito sa study mo to, i-skew niya yung data. Kung papangit yung study mo, i-skew niya yung data. Ihilahin niya. Kasi napaka-extreme. So pag meron kang isang region or isang place na outlier, i-skew niya yung results mo. So that's actually one area of study na pwede nyo i-explore. You can propose, no? Kung meron kang maisip na brilliant idea na instead of averaging, gawin natin ganito, ibang method ng pag-create. Basta kailangan mo ng method to establish a benchmark region. So yun din, isang possible din yun, area for research. Meron na mga other papers din on this. Nakapag-explore na sila ng other approaches to establish a benchmark region. Yung pinaka-basic tayo is just get the average of all regions. But if you have other ideas, pwede mo na-explore. Tapos compare mo. Compare mo yung results, no? Anong mas maganda na results natin. So yung pag-compute natin ng indices, same pa rin, no? Population is just population pa rin. Economic activity is GDP divided by population. Energy intensity is energy consumption divided by GDP. And then when you calculate the effects, exactly the same formula. Exactly the same formula as kanina, no? So yung implementation natin, parang lang. But the only difference is, instead na nagko-compare ka ng year to year, di ba kanina pag nag-aanap tayo, nagko-compute tayo ng effects. Let me show you, no? Pay attention dun sa cells na highlighted, no? Pag nagko-compute tayo ng effects dito sa temporal LMTI, ino-compare natin yung consecutive years, no? So let's say if you go to year 4 to year 5, so nagpo-move ito, no? Nagpo-move yung cells na nagamit natin. Pag spatial LMDI, palagi mo lang kino-compare yung region doon sa benchmark region. So let's say for this one, we're comparing region 1 tsaka yung benchmark region. Pag nagpunta tayo dun sa region 5, you'll be comparing region 5 with the benchmark region. So yun lang yung difference. Everything else, formula, and whatever, pareho. But it's an entirely new research field na. So kaya napaka-ano talaga, napakadali yung gawin, and it's very, productive din. Tapos the way we present spatial LMDI results, hindi na siya using column charts. Usually scatter plot na yung ginagamit natin. No? So, ginagawa natin yung performance ng different regions or places. Pinaplot natin together. Tapos, we select two effects at a time, like economic activity and population. Pwede mo silang i-plot together. Katulad dito, energy intensity nasa y-axis, and then economic activity nasa x-axis. And then, we just check, you just try different combinations of effects. You plot them together. And then you look for interesting trends. Yun naman yung dito eh. Sometimes, may mga trends na walang sense. So like, maybe if you plot together economic structure, energy structure, tsaka population growth, pag pinlot mo, sabog lang yung data, sa literal na scatter plot siya, no? So meaning, wala silang relationship. No? But in this case, energy intensity, economic activity, may nakikita tayong trend. So it's interesting, di ba? So ibig sabihin, we can say na in different regions pala, as they increase or improve the economic activity nila, nagde-decrease yung energy intensity. So actually, na-observe natin yung trend na yun sa real data, no, from other countries din. No? As countries become more affluent, no, tapos tumataas yung economic activity nila, yung energy intensity nila, yung energy efficiency, nag-improve. So meaning, natural tendency siya ng countries. You just have to support them. No? But natural tendency yun. Kasi yung ang companies na yung plants, manufacturing plants, natural tendency nila yun. Siyempre, they want to improve the energy efficiency nila. Diba? To reduce operating costs. So, it's a natural behavior. Kapag nag-increase economic activity ng companies, nag-decrease then yung energy intensity nila. Meaning, nag-improve yung energy efficiency. So dito naman, energy intensity versus economic activity, economic structure, energy structure pala ito. Hindi ko na pala yung x-axis. So, energy structure sa x-axis, increasing. We can see na yung energy intensity nga not changing so much, halos nagpa-flat. So yung region 1 doon na bumaba, we can say na maybe meron pa yung trend. Kailangan lang na extreme changes talaga sa structure yung kailangan. So, hindi enough yung 5%, 10% change sa energy mix. Kailangan 50% change talaga sa energy mix para makakita tayo ng significant improvement doon sa energy intensity. Or we have to be critical, kailangan natin criticize yung data, maybe outlier lang si Region 1. Possible din. No? Kailangan natin i-review ng mabuti yung data, we look for previous reports, no? Other evidences, mag-brainstorm tayo. Kasi sigurado ba tayo na yung nakikita natin is an actual trend or maybe outlier data lang sa Region 1. So, ayun. So itong Excel file will be shared with you. So you can study it, you can play around with it. So meron kayong students, graduate students, feel free to share with them then, to work with them. So ako, I've been using this tool, this approach ng LMDI since 2015. It's a very good and prominent research methodology. So very fast to publish in this area. So feel free to reach out din sa akin. If you want some more coaching, let's say nagtatry kayo, meron kayong actual data na nakuha na for CDO. If you want my help not to process the data, to review it, you can reach out to email them. Okay? So, yan. So some ano na lang din, final ano natin, key takeaways for the end. So yung opportunities ngayon in this area, it is in spatial decomposition. Temporal decomposition analysis, madami na nag-publish. Spatial decomposition, konti pa, and yung kanina sa tinanong ni Branch, yung even yung methodology ng pag-establish ng benchmark region, area for research din siya. How do you determine ano ba yung benchmark when you're comparing different countries? No? So, isa din possible area for research. So, spatial decomposition, there's a good opportunity here. Application ng machine learning. Di ba kanina, nagpakita ka ng different alternatives. Input output, LMDI, Spears index, regression modeling. Meron na rin yung mga machine learning methods that I did a paper in the year 2020 using graph sets methods. So same approach, studying drivers, pero ibang methodology ginamit. So kung familiar kayo sa other machine learning methods like cluster, k-means clustering, yan, madali din yan, kahit Excel, pwede yung gawin. Itong rough sets, kailangan mo ng software to do that, no? Pero pwede mo din gamitin yan. So, yan, you can explore this. No? Basta the idea is the same. We are studying drivers, not increasing energy use, increasing emissions. The question is, how do we understand ano yung cause, ano yung reason, no? Kasi it's very easy to say na, yung reason niya kasi nag-increase tayo ng coal. Pero wala naman tayong statistics, di ba? Wala tayong data to show na yun talaga yung driver. So using itong methods na to, we can quantify yung effects, the different effects. That we can show this also to policy makers. No? Understanding current discussion points, no? So, ang ibig sabihin dito, when you look at literature right now, when you attend conferences, ano ba usually yung napag-uusapan? When you talk about global warming, climate change. So, syempre, meron debate dyan between developed versus developing countries. No? Yung na-mention ko kanina, na yung developed countries, nandito na sila sa tuktok eh. Mayaman na sila. Tayo, payaman pa lang, hindi sa baba. Kasi sinasabi nila sa atin, tumigil na kayo. Hindi fair, di ba? So, meron mga discussions in that aspect din. No? Embodied energy in trade, carbon leakage, siya na-mention mo kanina. So yun, meron din ongoing discussions dyan. No? So ito yung mga topics na interesting i-cover pag magawa kayo ng paper. Pag nag-explain kayo, nag-discuss kayo ng results, ito yung mga magandang topics to touch on. Yan yung mga hot topics. So embodied energy trade. So because possible na sa atin nanggagaling yung production, pero ibang country na ikinabang, di ba? Ibang country na consume ng final goods, di ba? So maganda rin topic yan na nalipasok sa mga discussion points natin sa articles. Electricity trading, fuel trading then, and as I mentioned, the production versus consumption-based energy accounting. Okay? So yun yung mga interesting topics na interested kayo sa field na to. You like energy economics, no? Na types of studies. Ito yung mga types of topics you can immerse yourself on. No? So yun. So this is my email, so you can always keep in touch, no? If you want more coaching or you want help doing this kind of study, so feel free to reach out. And then I'm also going to be here until Friday afternoon. So if you want some discussion or just a chat,
So just reach out. Okay. Sige, so yun lang. So thank you very much. Sige, so any ano ba questions for the end? Okay naman, ganun tayo. Photo op na lang, photo op na tayo. Sige, let's have a picture. So yung mga nasa Zoom natin, if you can open your cameras din lang para sabi kayo sa pictures namin. Okay, let us ano lang, set up lang kami dito for features. Tara, dito tayo sa para
Pwede pala tayo. Asset community. I think kami last Saturday.
I don't area.
Yung present.
Sige,
Sali focus on
Squeeze, everyone is squeeze. Squeeze the phone.
Sige, pa-on lang yung cameras niyo muna.
Class picture naman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sige, so this ends yung session natin for this morning. So, plug ko lang ulit, no, meron tayong webinar ulit on Friday morning. So, meron tayong guests no, from industry. So, yung Chief Engineer ng Avoidis Power will join us via Zoom. No? But I will be here in person to facilitate the discussion. And then yung Executive Director din ng Meralco Power Academy will be joining us via Zoom din. Yung topic natin is energy security, no, renewable energy expansion in Mindanao. So maganda yung topic nito. And energy efficiency din. So yun yung ano natin towards moving yung capacity natin sa energy. So hope you can join us sa Friday. Yung 9 o'clock. Okay, bye guys.